Hello and welcome to today's edition of Hands of Science. The Santa Ana winds have been in the news a lot lately, and their strength has been fueling the wildfires ravaging California. Today I thought I'd explain a little bit about the Santa Ana winds. So, geography is important in this lesson. So we have the West Coast with California, all the states in roughly, kind of like this, Arizona, New Mexico, not New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon's up here, got what, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, etc., etc. It's not that important to be exact. Here along the coast of California, we have the coastal mountain range. We got LA, we got San Diego, we got San Francisco. Here we have the Sierra Nevadas, another famous mountain range. And then over here more is the Rocky Mountains, through Colorado, Wyoming. You got Denver, just so you get some idea of where we are. Here in the middle, roughly, is called the Great Basin. Now, the Great Basin is a high plateau in which it is, at least in the winter, is quite cold. Air sits in there. It's cold air. Now, if you think about the way that that heat works, we'll talk about that very briefly. When something is hot, the molecules are going all over the place. So in a gas, it's going to be spread out. When it's colder, the molecules don't move as much. There's not as much energy, so it's more compact. When you have more compact air like that, you actually have a high pressure system. Why is it a high pressure system? Well, the more compact the molecules are, the more you can put in one space, and therefore the more pressure it has. So you have this kind of cold, high pressure area sitting right here. It's going to be literally heavy. Gravity acts upon the gas. It pulls it down. You got that? It's pulling down on this heavier gas. Now, normally it stays right where it is because, there's lots of other air around it. It holds it in place. But every once in a while, a very strong low comes here. The exact opposite. Warm air that's been heated and has expanded. It's expanded. It's low pressure. It's lighter. Gravity literally pulls the higher pressure down over the Sierra Nevadas, through the Central Valley, and then over the coastal mountains of California. So, but the Santa Ana winds are very hot and dry winds. So how do they get there? Well, if you remember from my dissolving video, different temperatures affect the way things dissolve. And when it comes to air, hot air is efficient at dissolving water vapor, and cold air is inefficient. So you have cold air, has very little water vapor in it. As it moves down the mountains, it heats up. It has the same amount of water as it did, but it's hotter, so its capacity to store water increases. It's now very dry air relative to what it could be, and it actually sucks the moisture out of the atmosphere and out of living plants and things around there. So, how does that work? Well, a little confusing here, but even though you're talking about a high pressure system moving down into a lower pressure area, in addition to the density of the gas changing, the actual density of the entire atmosphere changes. If you think about, you're at a low altitude and then you go to a high altitude, you have atmosphere all up in here. There's obviously more atmosphere in the lower elevation. So as the Santa Ana winds pour down from the basin and into the valleys of California and into the coastal valleys of California, more air is pushing down on it. Now, I can't really show you what compressing air does, but I can show you what happens when you decompress air. So here we have our little, did that work? Our little can of air. Let's give it a spray. Actually, cold enough to form ice. Let's take a look. As you can see, there's lots of ice. Imagine that effect, but in reverse. Here we've had compressed air that we're releasing, and it gets colder. As those airs pour down the mountains into the valleys and into the coast, the exact opposite happens. You compress them, and they become warmer, still carrying the same amount of humidity that they had before, which was already low. Now it has an even greater capacity to absorb the moisture that is in the environment. get that together. And also, don't forget, this is going through these little mountain passes. You got a lot of air going through a tiny space. It speeds up, just like anything. You force a lot through a little, it's going to speed up. That's the Santa Ana winds. Hot, dry winds that blow in from the Great Basin across the mountains, get compressed by the force of the atmosphere so that they get hotter and therefore relatively drier. Then they hit the already drought-prone areas of Southern California, drying out the land further. A fire starts somewhere, and it can then be blown by the wind into a large problem. So that is the cause of the Santa Ana winds. All right, join us next time for another episode of Hands of Science. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. A picture of the hand is right about here. And of course, there's another video over here. Not sure which one yet, but I'm sure whatever it is, you will enjoy it. So please watch it. All right, thanks. Bye.